We open our scene in the medieval town of Basile. Currently, we are across town at the Eagle and Child Inn, where Guermin de Gascoigne and Valentino de Valle had been investigating looking for the Prince of Basile. Unfortunately, they seem to have stumbled upon the local watering hole for lupines that live in the area. And at least one lupine is now snarling into Valentino's face, towering over him. Perhaps a good 7.5 feet tall, very heavy with muscle, burly, with dark, coarse hairs covering his face and shoulders and arms, his eyes glowing that luminescent yellow. The camera pans back to Guermin de Gascoigne and Valentino to see how they're taking in this situation they find themselves in, this confrontation.
Valentino does not know what this man is. He knows it's clearly something supernatural. He's never met a lupine. But what he does know is that allegedly the Black Monastery and perhaps the Sabat and Giovanni are in the area, and that there must be some side this thing is on, and the best he can hope for is either to speak out and find out that they're enemies already, or that maybe he can make an unlikely ally out of this thing.
The camera shifts briefly to Guermin.
Guermin is standing beside Valentino, staring at the very large thing that has confronted them. His hand is resting on the hilt of his sword just beneath his cloak, as his other one reaches up to grab the hilt of his claymore and brings it down slightly, but he holds it there, staring very intently at Vukar and the imposing threat that looms over them.
The man, if indeed that is what he is, looks completely unafraid as you go for your weapons, Guermin, glaring at each of you in turn. You get the impression, Valentino, that you have a moment to answer him.
Is there enough time in this instance for Valentino to quickly think of anything else he can say or do besides this idea?
Let's see. Let's see what kind of knowledges Valentino has. You know, I'll give you an intelligence politics roll. The difficulty will be 8, though.
And I'm switching over right now.
Oh, you gotta roll that again, because you weren't... No, I'm kidding. I'll relay the results of that roll. Yeah, and I forgot to mention, guys, go ahead and switch over to your characters. All right.
Valentino's eyes widen with an idea, and he speaks up as soon as it comes to him. The prince of this city, surely you must have some kind of accord with this individual. We do not wish to break that treaty. In fact, we act in concordance with it. We wish only to speak.
A low, guttural growl emanates from the man's throat, something very animalistic and primal. Valentino, roll your manipulation subterfuge. Difficulty will be standard. He's going to oppose you.
Valentino will be spending a willpower on this.
Alrighty. The creature, this man-beast standing in front of you, glares suspiciously, his eyes tightening within that yellowed gaze. Clearly supernatural, and yet his lips roll back in a snarl.
Say what you want and get out.
Valentino is almost stunned by the hope for continuing to speak with this thing and not engaging in violence, but he quickly recovers. We hunt the Black Monastery and the Sabbat and Giovanni, possibly therein. If you are not allies of them, then we have no quarrel with you. Perhaps even some alliance can be made here.
I don't cut deals with leeches.
Very well, then we will be on your way and trouble you no more.
The creature stands there and glares at you hatefully. What is Gehrman doing through this tense negotiation?
Gehrman's hands are very delicately resting on his swords, as if his nerves and his reactions are on a hair trigger, looking and studying him for any signs of aggression. As his eyes dart between this imposing lupine, Valentino, and his eyes will dart to Matteo to make sure if things go down that he's right there with him.
Okay, Gehrman, make a perception occult roll, difficulty 7. All right. So, as the camera shifts to Valentino and Gehrman collectively, what happens next?
Unless stopped, Valentino will bring a hand out to the side as if to hold back Gehrman as he speaks up, still with his face forward towards this creature. Come, Gehrman. Matteo, we will leave now. And he slowly moves to back out.
Gehrman will slowly begin to step backwards. However, he's going to be keeping his eyes on the man and his hands on his swords as he backs away towards the door. He looks to Matteo and gives him a nod with his head to follow him.
Better not leave the walls, leech. The accord does not hold out there.
And at that moment, this beast man gives you a wicked grin, which almost looks a bit too wide, displaying those razor-sharp teeth. His luminescent yellow eyes, wide with glee, and a kind of almost savage delight as he watches the two of you go.
Valentino does not reply or give any indication of acknowledgement to this. He simply backs out, slowly keeping his eyes forward.
Cameron pauses at the door, looking at the man as he smiles at him. Cameron does not do well with being threatened.
Actually, at that threat, Gehrman, make a self-control roll. The difficulty would normally be 5. For you, it's 7. Oh no. Alright, I will relay the results of those rolls to Gehrman. All right. As Valentino is backing towards the door and Gehrman has stopped to glare at this thing, the camera's going to shift to Gehrman. Describe what we see, Gehrman.
As he pauses in the doorway, Gehrman, his brow is lowered and his eyes are glaring at this creature. His head is down. His arms and his hands are tensed as they're on both of his swords. As he glares hatefully at this thing. A fury has risen in Gehrman, something of which is quite rare for him. He hasn't... His temper has flared many times, but now being threatened by this unknown creature in such a manner has infuriated him to no end. As he glares at him, he shoots a quick glance to Mateo to see that he is still there, and then he grips heavily the handles of both his swords, and he glares at this lupine.
Mateo is actually not with you. He was setting about business with the other ghouls. It's just you and Valentino.
Okay.
Mateo was there.
He was?
Yeah. Gabrine wasn't.
Oh, that's right. I'm getting...
Mateo went with them.
I'm getting my ghouls mixed up. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, during all this while, Mateo has actually been at the door, which has been open. He sees that look in Gehrman's eye, and his hand, which has been resting upon the pommel of his sword at his waist this entire time, tightens almost imperceptibly. Valentino, make a wits alertness roll, difficulty 7. All right. You don't anticipate anything. You think you got out of here clean, and we're gonna look at Valentino one last time.
Valentino, his eyes too fixed on the creature, studying it almost with interest as much as anticipation and anxiety, he continues to back out, thinking that perhaps they've avoided confrontation. He doesn't actually look anywhere else.
One moment. The beast across the tavern has locked eyes with you, Gehrman. He seems to... You recognize understanding in his eyes. He seems to know the fury that is within you, and he seems to acknowledge that. And as the two square off, glaring at each other, everyone roll initiative.
And what is the initiative roll?
1d10 plus wits, alertness, celerity. Although, you know, I'm going to change that. We're going to be doing wits, dexterity, celerity from now on. I tried the wits alertness thing for a while. I really don't care for it. I'm going to go back to the book. So yeah. Wits, 1d10 plus wits, dexterity, celerity. You can still have that 7 if you want, Valentino.
Actually, it's the same either way.
Oh, perfect. One moment. We begin with Mateo, who actually springs into action, and he actually crosses faster than the eye can follow Gehrman. He flanks the beast from the other side. In a second, he's across the room with his celerity, empowered by your blood. His sword is out, and we see a flash of steel before it comes up in several strikes against the beast's side. Clearly flanking him on one side, leaving the other side to you. I'm going to do that attack roll. Mateo sets into this beast with a flurry of blows and slashes and stabs that would have absolutely chopped a common man into nothing. As he slices this beast in his side, it howls and whirls around, glaring at him. And we see Mateo has opened up its belly, skewered it through the side in its ribs, and slashed it in several places on its arm. And yet, to your horror, you see as the fur and the flesh part away and blood gushes down from the wounds. Almost just that quickly, the wound closes up just as much. Although the wound is still open, the beast is struck from Mateo's furious blows. He is wounded. It's not nearly as much as you thought it might be. Gehrman.
The second he sees Mateo flank off to the side, his body reacts in very much a similar way as he moves around to the other side of the beast's flank. Now facing his back, he charges in, bringing up both hands onto his claymore, and as he draws it down, he's going to bring it down across this thing. He's going to attempt to just cut it straight in half.
And the moment you close the gap between you and this beast, Gehrman, he suddenly explodes into a form the like of which you have never seen before. 9.5 feet tall, snarling, almost 500 pounds of raw muscle and fury and fur, as the beast emerges from the form of the man that once stood there. His howl cuts through the air just as you reach him.
And my blood buffs and everything still count for this round?
That's correct. You got that for the whole scene.
Okay. Melee. Difficulty 6.
5, actually. Mateo is flanking him, so it's opened up an attack for you.
Okay. Strength plus the sword plus extra successes.
Roll that 10 again.
Okay, with his potence, that is 12.
Despite the beast's great strength and height and resilience, you and Mateo, in less than the blink of an eye, have closed the distance between the two, between you and it, flanked it, and sliced it. Mateo's damage has, of course, provided you the opening that you really needed, Gehrman, and as you, with the beast burning hot in your breast, and you suddenly close the distance and swing at this thing, you have actually, you've defeated it. Go ahead and describe what happens.
As he draws his massive claymore from his back, he uses the angle and the momentum and his pure raw strength to bring it down in a horizontal manner to slice the beast in half from shoulder to hip as the sword completely cleaves through this 9-foot beast and leaves nothing but 2 pieces of a carcass spurting blood as they slide down to the ground.
An avalanche of blood and slurry of organs spill out onto the floor with a wet plop and slap with like a rush as the body tumbles down, and a death howl raises up in the beast's throat. One moment. And yet, despite being opened up at the belly, the beast, with his organs spilling out, one claw holding the wound, he rounds on you, almost hollowed out from the inside, glaring at you with fury, unlike that which you've never seen before, Gehrman. It should have died, but it did not die. And I've gone and removed the initiative order, because I'm such a good storyteller. Valentino, it's your go as you see Gehrman and Matteo sprint across the room using their celerity faster than your eye can follow and begin chopping into this thing with everything they have.
So this creature, is it now on the floor? Is it in two pieces? Can I just get an idea of what it looks like now or what's going on?
The beast is actually still on his feet. He's not in two pieces. His midsection is completely hollowed out from Gehrman's blade, however, and blood is running everywhere. His guts are hanging out, and yet the thing is still on its feet. It is still glaring at Gehrman. You've never seen anything like it.
And can Valentino tell where this thing seems to be going, like who it is aiming for now?
It's definitely looking at Gehrman, although it's caught between him and Matteo.
Valentino, trying to react as quickly as events are unfolding, tries to take advantage of this, and drawing his Hungarian sword out quickly, he's going to try and finish this cut that has been started, and he will be going for a slash as well, and that.
All right. Go ahead and make your attack.
Is the difficulty affected by him being distracted by the other two?
Yes, absolutely. You have him completely surrounded, so the difficulty will be at 4. Valentino, that's a direct hit as you lay into this beast. Go ahead and roll your damage. Despite your very accurate blow, Valentino, a blow that would have definitely skewered any other man, for some reason the beast, his flesh is just holding together. His flesh is trying to knit itself together before your very eyes. Even that horrible hole of gore before your very eyes is trying to close up. He's healing even as he's standing there, even as the beast is on the edge of death. And as you attack the beast, Valentino, the camera will turn to you for your attack.
Valentino, drawing his sword and quickly moving in, seeing that it is not noticing him, he drags this sword across the belly where the cut is, and as he finishes it, thinking the sword found purchase and that the cut was true, he sees that it's done nothing, and he knows that truly this is a formidable opponent, whatever this is.
Immediately, the werewolf, for that is truly what it is, the lupine of legend, raises his great claw before you, Gehrman, and you see it flashing down an instant later. All right, you have celerity actions. Do you want to spend one of them to dodge, or do you want to take the hit?
I will dodge.
All right.
I was trying to ask you, but my mic was muted. I apologize.
All right, dexterity athletics.
Six.
Yep. It's not a botch.
Not a botch.
But the fact that this thing is still standing, Gehrman, normally it would have been child's play to dodge something like this, but the fact that it is still standing has completely struck you. The camera's going to focus in on you for a moment. As you go to dodge, but just can't bring yourself to, Gehrman, what do we see?
As Gehrman sees the claw come up, he quickly tries to move out of the way, although he is unable to get his footing enough to move out of the way of the massive size of the claw, so it ends up still nicking him as he moves by. Is he able to reflexively spend blood into fortitude?
How much blood have you... Well, actually, tell me over Skype how many blood points you've spent this turn. And for what? Oh, that's right. Never mind. It's already in Skype. I'm sorry, Daniel. Yes, you can reflexively spend that into fortitude. You have enough blood points left.
Okay, he will do so.
And as the claw slashes across your chest, Gehrman, just with the force of a falling boulder, you've never felt someone as strong as this. Certainly not in centuries. Despite that, however, your unnatural resilience allows your flesh to close up, even as the claws rake across your chest and shred your clothing. Go ahead and describe what happens as Gehrman is struck by this werewolf.
As the claw comes down and hits him in the chest, he quickly looks down to assess the damage in just a split second. His clothes, his tunic are ripped apart, and even the thin chainmail vest he had underneath his clothing is just completely ripped apart. As he sees his chest underneath that cleaved, but it quickly heals up and closes.
All right, we're going into celerity actions now. Mateo has the highest initiative, so he will act next, as he is now facing the back of this beast, and with narrowed eyes and a grim look upon his face, he lays into this monster with a flurry of blows from behind. One second, I have to do some math. That's 10 successes. "13 successes of lethal," as you see your warrior ghoul, Mateo, lay into this werewolf with everything he has, with a flurry of expert sword strikes, the likes of which you have rarely seen. He is in fine form this evening, Gehrman, as the beast... Just a soak. It's not enough. The moment you see Mateo use his celerity and move faster than the eye can see, it's unbelievable. It's poetry in motion as he brings his sword around, slashing horizontally and then jamming his sword in the back of the werewolf's head, and you see his blade actually explode out of the monster's eye as he did a leaping stab, and then he hits the ground and he whirls around, his cloak moving with his flashing movements as he used the edge of his saber to sever the beast's spine. And with a howl, it collapses. A death rattle. With a heavy thud upon the floor, caught between the three vampires. Well, two vampires and their ghoul. And with that, we end combat. Oh, that's not right. Sorry, 1 second, guys. The three of you are standing over the dismembered corpse of a great beast that had emerged before you, that had transformed from what was otherwise an ordinary man. Gibbets of blood are everywhere. And yet before your very eyes, the corpse suddenly shrinks with a cracking as the hair vanishes and the claws and the talons recede. And before you see nothing more than the ordinary man you had seen before, his body cut into several pieces, laying upon the floor as his eyes stare off into nothing. Mateo, having had the drop on this thing from the beginning and worked in perfect unison with you, Gehrman, he whips the blood off of his blade with a single expert flick before sheathing it, turning to glance at the others in the tavern.
If the rest of you would like what he got, you are more than welcome.
The others in the tavern are staring, shocked. The whole thing had happened in less than 6 seconds, literally less than 6 seconds. And as Mateo glares at them, suddenly they rise and they all rush. What few are here, the 3 or 4 men here, rush for the door as the Eagle and Child Inn is completely cleared out, leaving Gehrman and Valentino in their wake.
Gehrman is going to attempt to snatch one before it exits, grabbing it by the back of the neck.
All right, dexterity brawl. Difficulty is going to be 5. You effortlessly manage to grab one man as he runs by.
He's gonna bring him back into the tavern as he sits him down. You're gonna answer some questions.
He's a thin, reedy man with a patchwork beard on his face and rugged leather clothing. He looks like a woodsman, definitely not town folk. As you sit him down and he glares up at you, surprisingly defiant despite his fear. You can smell his fear on him. It's palpable. What do you want?
Gehrman is going to sheathe his bloody sword with one hand on his back as he pulls out a chair and sets it directly over the gore and the body of the werewolf that they had just killed. As he sits down and takes a place at the table next to him. And he's going to cross his fingers and set his hands on the table as he glares at him. Where are you going?
The man is silent for a moment. Roll your charisma intimidation, Gehrman. Difficulty 5. He's already very scared of you.
As Gehrman sets this man about to interrogating him, Valentino is looking around the room in chaotic thought, as to what this means, as he dries the blood on his sword and sheathes it, looking to Gehrman quickly. Gehrman, this is not good. If they did indeed have some kind of agreement, we've most certainly created a problem here.
The man flinches away from you, Gehrman, as you leer over him, and even as Valentino's whispering in your ear, Gehrman, you hear him whispering,
Go back to our village. We were gonna go home and tell his mother what you've done to him.
The man, cringing, glares up at you, Gehrman. You can see the hatred in his eyes as he motions to the body on the floor.
Without flinching, his face is very cold, and his stare is very old as he looks at him. And will he bring others?
You leeches. Just kill me if you're gonna do that.
The man trembles in visible fear.
Gehrman is going to slowly lean up on the table with his palms flat and lean into the man. Death would be a saving grace. There are far worse things than death, mortal.
Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me.
And with a lightning flash, his hand is going to grasp the man's jaw just under his throat. Then answer me.
There are more. There are many more.
The man says, looking defiant, suddenly, seeming to have gained courage from remembering what he is telling you.
He nods and lets the man go. He's going to look over to Mateo. Kill them.
Mateo,
as he motions to the door.
Without missing a beat, Mateo immediately sprints off. A hunter on the chase as he runs after the men in their direction.
What?
You have been most helpful. As Gehrman stands and straightens himself as much as he can, the massive claw mark still upon his chest. And for your obedience, I will release you. As he grasps the man's throat and lifts him up effortlessly, his strength still coursing through his veins, and his teeth bare as his mouth opens wide, and he's gonna bite directly into the man's neck and begin to drink him.
No!
And as you lift him up, still kicking in the air, Gehrman, and sink your fangs into his neck, you drink deep of the rich scarlet blood which explodes into your mouth. And as you do, make a wits occult roll, difficulty 5. The camera shifts to Valentino as Gehrman Gehrman does all this.
Valentino's been watching intently this man with the same thought as Gehrman, that these men can't be allowed to leave and let others of this kind know of what's happened, and actually thinks to leave and join Mateo, but he pauses to wait for Gehrman.
All right, I'm going to relay the results of Daniel's roll. The camera shifts to Gehrman, and as he feasts upon this man, trying to struggle pathetically in his grasp, but failing to do so. One moment.
And as Gehrman holds his limp body in his arms as he drinks deep, he's going to be drinking his fill, knowingly killing the man.
And as you do, make a conscience roll, difficulty 6. All right. All right, and as you finish draining the man, Gehrman, do you mean to drink every drop in his body or only to your fill?
Currently, with the thirst that is in Gehrman, he knows that even draining this man dry, he'll still be slightly hungry, so he will be taking everything.
All right, and as you completely drain him, he withers in your grasp, his skin shrinking against his bones, and his tongue sticking out before drying out as he gives a last death rattle, and you drain him completely. And at that moment, the door explodes open, and Bianca Dispenser enters the room breathless, having run across town.
Gehrman's eyes slowly lift from the lifeless corpse that he holds in his hand as he sees the look on Bianca's face as he slowly moves the corpse away from his mouth and lightly drapes it over as he throws it onto the ground, the body of the werewolf.
The camera shifts to Bianca as she has emerged into this scene.
When Bianca arrives, she clearly looks frazzled as she slams open the doors and steps forward, her eyes immediately locking onto Gehrman as he's holding this withered body in his grasp. And then they jet to the corpse on the floor and then hesitantly look over to Valentino as she speaks. Good God. What happened here?
We need to leave. Now we can discuss this somewhere else.
Bianca looks to Valentino again. Leave? But I've just met with the prince.
And that takes the two of you by surprise.
A flash of amusement crosses over Gehrman's face as he looks at Bianca. Seems you've had better luck than we.
Bianca would look over to Gehrman slightly. Well, it would seem so, Gehrman, she says sarcastically, and for a moment she takes a step forward to examine the corpse on the floor. Who was that?
Gehrman looks down at the two bodies, one shrunken and shriveled, the other dismembered and torn, as he looks back to Bianca. Two mutts that needed to be put down.
And with that, the camera is going to fade out as we briefly shift scene. Some distance away from the Eagle and Child Inn. We open our glimpse into what is happening some yards, even perhaps a mile or more away from this tavern, as we see the 3 or 4 men, there are 4 in total, running through the forest far away from the village of Basile. They had made it through the gates as Mateo is hot on their heels, his boots pounding in the ground as he sprints after them with unnatural speed. We see him trying to chase the 4 of them down, even though they have a strong head start and they know the terrain better than him. Mateo is hot on their trail. They're going to try and roll to get away. Okay, that is their collective dice pool. Mateo will need to beat them in order to get them all.
How do chase scenes work? Do you get bonuses or minus to difficulty if you're using celerity?
Well, celerity isn't the problem. Speed isn't the problem for Mateo. The problem is being able to get them all, because they're all splitting up. They're all running off in different directions, and Mateo needs to be able to roll his perception survival, because he's in the wilderness, to be able to find all of them, so the trail doesn't go cold while he's killing them. Because, like I said, there's 4 of them, and they're all splitting off in different directions, and they know this terrain better than he does.
Okay.
But he will get a decreased difficulty because he's using celerity, and he is so fast.
Okay.
Yeah, Mateo moves like a blur, like a hunting cat through the forest as he runs at a breakneck speed. He is much faster than than any ordinary man as he runs through the forest and whips, and we see the camera follow him as tree trunks go by and branches go by, and we see the men running with all their might through the forest, splitting up. And as soon as Mateo closes in within sight of one, he zips up to them, and we see a spray of blood as he opens their throat, and then, without even missing a beat, moves on to the next one, running after them, sprinting, chasing them down, a hunter through this forest. And before long, the last one is skewered through the heart. We're going to switch scene as we go to back to the Black Dog Tavern. Sorry, one moment. And as we go back to the Black Dog Tavern, we see that the young woman, Sophie Ducote, has finished her performance. And as she finishes singing and begins to step off stage to a uproarious smattering of applause, we look at Diego Vasquez de Sevilla, who is just now coming out of his reverie, having watched this lovely young woman sing. The camera shifts back to Diego as we see him come out of his trance.
Diego's eyes, which were for a long while focused and lost in the sound of the music, now dilate, come back into this world of the living, and he realizes the performance is over, and he begins to clap uproariously.
You join in with the applause, Diego, and as you do so, you see that you actually catch Sophie's eye from across the tavern, and she smiles at you in a way that women have been known to look at you like that from time and again, but you do know what it means. She curtsies and turns to walk off stage, and you hear a voice behind you, Diego. Lovely, isn't she?
The most lovely thing I have seen in some time, he says, as he turns in his seat to look over his shoulder.
You see Prince Manfred von Schor standing behind you. Of course, you don't immediately recognize him as such. He takes a seat across from you, Diego. And you are momentarily taken off guard by how direct this man is, joining you without even asking for an invitation. I just finished having a conversation with your pretty friend.
Then I assume you must be Prince von Schor.
The man smiles at you, which is brief and dangerous. Naturally, he says.
It is a pleasure to meet you. I am Prince Diego of Sevilla.
Interesting, he says, giving you a respectful nod. What brings you to my domain, Prince Diego?
Did my lovely companion not tell you?
I would like to hear this story from you. And immediately you see the brilliance in this man. He has already heard the story from Bianca, and you have no way of knowing what she told him, and he wants to hear your version of the tale.
Very well, he says, drumming his fingers on the table. Here?
Certainly. Well, he pauses for a moment and glances about. Perhaps I am getting too comfortable within my own Elysium. Come. He stands from his chair and beckons to you, Diego, walking towards the back, secluded part of the Black Dog Inn.
Diego will get up and follow him, looking around and smiling.
You emerge into the room where Bianca had, just a few minutes before, been intense negotiations with Prince von Schor. You see the curtain is pulled back for a moment by one of the female vampires in there. She's wearing that pewter necklace around her throat with the design of a black rose being drawn through a golden bow. And as she parts the curtain for you, Diego, you see very many places to sit here, and Prince von Schor takes his own seat.
May I sit?
Certainly. Let us talk as equals, Diego. Tell me why you are here.
Yes, he says, but looking around he suddenly realizes something. Where is Bianca?
I do not know. She was dismissed from my presence, and my eyes in this Elysium tell me that she ran out of here with some great haste.
Ah, he says. Inwardly he's quite concerned, but he doesn't let it show on his face.
She even tried to rouse you, but Sophie's performance. Von Schor shrugs, looking at you.
Yes, wherever did you find her?
Aquitaine. I had heard of her making the rounds there, going from Gascony to up towards Paris, and I managed to contract her to bring her out here to Basile at no small expense, I might say. But it is a gift to the local Canaanites here. He trails off for a moment. We do not get much entertainment in Basile. We are very isolated, you understand.
I thank you for being a gentleman, then. You had me completely under your power.
What kind of prince would I be if I simply took advantage of every guest in my domain?
A prince like many, I'm sure. And he smiles.
Von Shore gives a bark of laughter. Well, you might be surprised to hear, Diego de Sevilla, that I am only prince out of necessity, not any desire to hold the damned office. The lupines in this area, well, they have been very difficult for the Canaanites of this region, particularly the witch burnings as well. Caught between the two, they need a warrior to lead them, and so Von Shore shrugs.
Yes, I was told of your predicament by a rather unlikely source.
Oh?
A very ancient Nosferatu, Madame Cloaca.
I do not know this name, but I am not surprised to hear that one of the sewer rats know of me.
In any case, I have dodged your question long enough. You wish to know why we've come to your city.
Absolument.
The place called the Black Monastery, see?
Yes, I had discussed this with your pretty friend.
We have reason to believe that the Sabbat are gathering there.
Von Shore nods, but does not say anything, indicating that you should continue.
Not only this, but they have some sort of allegiance with the Giovanni. After each statement, he lets it hang to see what the reaction is from this man, or the other Canaanites in the room.
Roll a perception empathy as you study Von Shore. Standard difficulty. While Von Shore is no doubt a fine warrior, he is certainly no courtier, and you can see through his posture almost immediately, Diego. He knows everything that you're saying to him. He simply is waiting for you to say something that might betray any sort of lie, comparing your story with Bianca's.
Quick question in Skype there.
Sure, one moment.
What use the Giovanni have for the Sabbat, I do not know. I do know that they have been stealing artifacts from Rome. Books, rare books.
Interesting, Manfred says blandly.
I know you have little use for books here. You are in the middle of a war, after all.
Well, yes, for lack of a better word. Manfred looked as though he were trying to correct you and look for some better way to put it, but he seemed unable to do so.
I do not know much about these lupines, but I do know that they are rather difficult to deal with.
To put it lightly.
In any case, we do not know what we will find at this Black Cathedral. Our guide, too, is unreliable. I have to rely on the directions of Madame Cloaca to make sure we reach the place safely.
Of course. Well, I have been unable to determine what the Canaanites up at that monastery are doing. They do not come down here. They do not come into Basel, neither to hunt nor to enjoy our company. The prince smirks as the woman across the way from you also gives a faint smile. But whatever they are doing up there, it seems to have riled up the local lupines, which makes a problem for me, you understand. I have a very delicate and fragile understanding with the lupines ever since we have engaged in our last little skirmish. They have agreed to not attack us openly, and I have agreed to give them a little place here in the city where they can drink and come in, and also have their families get a bit of a drink. They live out in the wilderness, you see, and they keep herds of the mortals to themselves, much like we do, but in a different relationship, where we keep mortals as dupes and slaves and pawns. The lupines keep their mortal herds together as family, and having nowhere to go, the Basile winters are harsh. Sometimes their kinfolk, as they call them, like to come in to the Eagle and Child Inn, which is across the way. I have given them this domain where they may drink in peace and have a bit of fun. I can't imagine twigs and mud are all that entertaining this time of year. The prince smirks.
Diego finds it difficult to hide his alarm. The Eagle and Child, you say?
Indeed. And I would mention to you what I mentioned to your pretty friend. That is absolutely, certainly to be avoided. You do not want to go in there. They become very agitated when vampires impose upon their allotted place.
Diego closes his eyes and shakes his head. I'm afraid it is already too late.
The prince blinks once, and you see an edge of anger cross his face, a flash, gone as quickly as it had come. Excuse me.
2 of my companions went there. Even as myself and Bianca came here. We did not know. We did not know, he says, holding up a hand to calm him. I hope it's not too late.
Diego, go ahead and roll your charisma, empathy, difficulty 7.
Uh-oh.
You damned fool!
Manfred explodes, standing up. His fists clench as he glares down at you, Diego.
I suggest, for both our sakes, Diego says, that edge of danger in his voice, that you settle down.
Settle down.
He immediately, Manfred is in your face, his fangs bared.
You arrogant little whelp. You come into my domain and you tell me how to conduct business in my court. You upset my domain. You upset the balance here. Well,
He turns away from you.
Unwillingly.
You see him stroking his beard, trying to keep calm. And you are reminded for a moment Gehrman's propensity for anger, Diego.
go.
Manfred points to the curtain.
Go to the Eagle and Child and tell me what has been done there.
As you wish, Prince, he says, rising from his chair.
Take my attendant.
Manfred motions to the vampiress who is across the way. She rises, brushing her skirts off, looking a bit worried.
Miss, he says.
The woman smiles at you, but appears far too afraid of Manfred to engage in any kind of dialogue.
We go post-haste.
Manfred turns around and resumes his seat, glaring at you as you go.
Diego gives him another dangerous look as he departs.
And as the two of you vanish, we shift scene. The camera opens as we return to the Eagle and Child Inn, where Gehrman and Valentino, as well as Bianca, are standing in the aftermath of the bloody conflict that had unfolded there. Blood is spattered everywhere, and two fresh bodies lay upon the floor, one chopped into several pieces and the other drained completely dry, pale milk white.
Valentino, seeing that Bianca has come and that they're now discussing what to do, he speaks up, turning to Gehrman. Gehrman, this is going to be very problematic very quickly. We are not in our own domains, but if this can be attributed to the Giovanni or Sabat in any way, perhaps we can avoid bringing down the full wrath of more of these things.
Gehrman sits there. He has currently resumed his seat at the table where he was previously discussing with the other corpse that now lay on the ground. As he sits there, he looks at Valentino and Bianca, and he kind of nods. I agree, though I do not see a reason, and we have to give excuses, seeing as who we are here for.
Only if we do not wish to add to the number of we already have. And that is assuming that Mateo does find all those who escaped.
He will. He crosses his arms and, in confidence, Mateo is quite deadly.
Bianca would look up to the two of them at that point. There were more of these.
More of him, as he motions to the shriveled corpse. Mortals in some allegiance with the lupine. I sent Mateo to silence them.
Valentino looks back to Gehrman. In your hunts of the Sabbat, can you think of anything that might be useful in creating a more believable scene here? Any markings or anything?
Gehrman holds up a hand as his eyes drift to the ceiling in thought. Can I make a roll for this?
Okay, well, what are you rolling to do exactly?
He's trying to go off of Valentino's lead and trying to think of anything that he has experienced along his crusade in those 100 years of the Giovanni that might give them way to lead others to believe that the Giovanni had committed this
okay,
atrocity.
So you want to frame the Giovanni for this?
Yes.
Okay.
Valentino is kind of implying Giovanni or Sabat.
Got it. Okay, well, the two of you can make a wits and politics roll. The difficulty will be 6. All right, relaying the results of that.
Valentino shakes his head for a moment. Whatever we come up with, we shouldn't be seen here at the very least. Let us at least move to the street or somewhere else while we consider our next move.
Gehrman nods in agreement as he stands. Agreed. Though we will have to convince the prince of your plan.
Valentino nods, having already started moving towards the door to leave, quite eager to be done with this scene.
Gehrman makes sure his swords are sheathed tightly. He tightens a few of the straps checking them over to make sure that they weren't caught in the crossfire as the werewolf tore open his chest. The tatters of his clothes are still flapping, but he straightens himself and begins to follow after Valentino.
The camera shifts to Bianca to see what she is doing as Valentino and Gehrman confer.
Bianca is quietly standing over the corpse of the lupine as she kind of stares down at it. She is kind of mulling over in her mind what has happened and what the two of them are conversing over. It's taking a lot for her to not completely lose herself in this moment. She is rather irritated at the fact that they, or more so Gehrman, most likely lost his temper and whatnot. She hasn't even asked what really transpired because she knows it'll just irritate her. So eventually she kind of holds in her composure as best as she can, and she turns, eyeing the two and following after them.
All right, and as the three of you leave the Eagle and Child Inn, you emerge out into the night of Basile. And just at that moment, Gehrman, for this inn was at the northern edge of town, near the northern gate. You see Matteo, sleek and silent as a shadow, emerging through the archway of the gates. He picks his way around the shadows and is making his way towards the group of you, the three of you, as you emerge from the Eagle and Child Inn. He is walking at a clipped pace, and you see his hand resting upon his sword.
Gehrman studies Matteo, looking towards his posture and his face to see that the deed has been done and to completion.
The moment Matteo gets close enough, the three of you hear him as he leans in to Gehrman and whispers, his voice swift and somewhat hurried, as he is panting a bit as though he had just got done running a marathon of some kind.
My lord, they are all dead. Their bodies lay strewn upon the forest here, within a mile. But their blood will be on the trees and in the soil. It's likely the lupines will find out.
Good. He smiles at Valentino and clasps a hand around his neck as he smirks, shaking him approvingly. We do not need to contain them. We need to unleash them. We are moving presently to give them a target.
And just at that moment, we see Diego and an unknown Canaanite woman crossing the town, and this is just at the moment when they arrive near the Eagle and Child Inn. Diego, as you've been walking with the woman in question, who has very large almond eyes and raven black hair and very pale skin with lips as red as blood, she has said very little, but she introduced herself as Delphine and otherwise remains silent, clearly very anxious, turning her pale hands over with each other. And the two of you have just now arrived before Diego or just now arrived before Valentino and Bianca and Gehrman, as well as Matteo. You see the four of them standing nearby, conversing. So I will turn the scene over to everyone.
As Diego comes striding up with this unknown woman, his face looks very set and determined. The three of you rather, know him well enough to know that he's angry. And he's looking from face to face, questioningly.
Valentino is perhaps the first to break the silence, looking to the woman first, and then back to Diego. And who is this you've brought with you?
I am Delphine. She speaks up, introducing herself. Subject of Prince Manfred von Schor.
Valentino's quiet, but he eyes the woman.
When last I saw the prince, not long ago, he was in a rage. Do you have any idea why this might be?
There's been a development of sorts. Gehrman and I stumbled across an unfortunate gathering of apparently ended up being a lupine meeting spot in this city. And slew one of them, and one of their kind.
Delphine's eyes pop wide the moment you say this.
There was really no avoiding this situation. It was quite provoked as much as we entered, despite our attempts to parley.
Mon Dieu, she whispers, turning to quickly walk towards the, which still ajar, door of the Eagle and Child Inn, peering inside.
But as behind us now, there's no point in dwelling on it. It seems Matteo has seen to the last of the witnesses. We may be able to play this as an attack by either the Sabbat or Giovanni. Thus we avoid gaining enemies here, and perhaps maybe even divert these lupines towards the Black Monastery.
Prince von Schor does not seem a very reasonable man.
Gehrman will turn now away from Matteo, facing Diego. He must be. We come on the authority of the Inner Council of the Camarilla. The Camarilla grants him his title.
It may be the only thing that saves our lives. We have overstepped.
Please, Diego. As he kind of scoffs it off. How long do you think this would have lasted? We merely speed the process along.
I know, old friend.
What you hear split the night is actually Delphine's voice as she has returned to the small group as you converse. Her voice level and severe. Do you have any idea what you have done?
You mean, what have the Sabbat done?
Her eyes narrow. No. You! The Sabbat have done nothing to our city. They've... Damn it.
You can't tell me you're actually defending them, he says.
I am not
to him.
defending the Sabbat. Delphine spits. You'd made this mess. You! The prince tried to clean this up. The prince had an understanding with the lupines. You understand? They will be at our throats now. It will be war again. Because of you.
Not if the appropriate target is given. Valentino cuts in.
She just looks at you and shakes her head, like looking shocked, like, you do not understand. The lupines do not distinguish between our kind. They do not care for Camarilla or Sabbat or anyone. It will be war. You cannot maneuver them. They know Cainites are here. They know Cainites are in the area. They will want revenge, and they will not care who it is.
Gehrman will step forward. How old are you, child?
Delphine seems momentarily taken back. Gehrman, make a perception occult roll as you look at her.
Difficulty 6?
Yep. I'll relay the results of that.
A smile goes across his face as he stares at the girl. Do you know anything of war?
No, I do not.
No, as he reiterates her answer. Then you do not know the strategy. If they cannot discern our kind, then we simply need to make the Black Monastery a first target. Their attack there will weaken both the Sabbat and their numbers, making it easy cleanup for us.
Delphine shakes her head. I may not know anything of war, but you do not know anything of living in Basile. I have taken refuge here for the last 20 years against the witch fires, against the lupines. You do not understand. They will attack everyone. Every Cainite they can find. You killed one of them. There's no directing them now.
Unavoidable.
Unavoidable, Delphine says, looking frustrated, but like she doesn't want to argue anymore.
Valentino takes a look around them and then returns to Delphine. Then perhaps they do not need to be controlled, only unleashed. And afterwards, leave this city. What is here anyway? There'll be nothing
Leave?
left.
Do you have any idea how dangerous travel is? And even if I could, where would I go? No, I have seen enough. Delphine turns around and she begins walking away from you. You see that she's headed in the direction of the Black Dog Inn.
We should follow and have a word with the prince. I would not expect him to be reasonable.
Anything can be manipulated, even dogs. Let us go speak with the prince.
Careful, Valentino. He is a prince of the Camarilla, whether you like it or not.
Valentino kind of scoffs and starts walking off in the direction of the Black Dog, following Delphine.
How is Bianca taking in this scene? She's been fairly quiet.
Bianca's silent. I mean, she's hearing the bickering back and forth, but she has nothing really to say on the matter. I mean, what's done is done. She's trying to control her own annoyance about the situation, which, takes a great deal out of her. So she's just focusing on not, mouthing off at this point, especially to Gehrman, who she, is very much inclined to believe that he was the one who initiated this whole thing. He is the bourgeois. His temper is unkempt at best. But she merely follows after Diego after a moment. But she is quite inclined to let Diego take the lead on this one. He is a prince. He knows how to speak to another prince on matters such as these. She really is just observing at this point what's going to happen.
Gehrman and Matteo are left behind as everyone advances towards the Black Dog Inn to confer with Prince von Schor. Matteo turns to regard you, Gehrman.
My lord, what are you thinking as to this situation?
Gehrman stands there a moment, his hands on his hips. He seems a little irritated that someone so young would mouth off to him and his companions. But he looks to Matteo and kind of nods, looking back over at the inn that they had just exited. Yes. The Giovanni must be held accountable for this. You understand, Matteo?
Matteo nods.
If I may, my lord.
As Matteo interrupts him, he stops and pauses, looking at him, kind of slowly nodding. letting him speak.
This Prince von Shore has his own concerns, as we do. We should simply leave. Leave him to it. And go about our business.
Gehrman takes a moment to stare at Mateo. You want us to completely ignore the chain of command of the Camarilla?
Forgive me, my lord, but you are above this prince. You are here on business of the inner circle. Let us simply leave.
Yes. This is something I know. However, as he looks up to the sky, we do not know how much longer the lights will last and how long our assault will take. We need refuge. We need a base of command, and this town is the only thing suitable. So, as a precaution, as a show of good faith, we must at least inform the prince of this domain.
Mateo nods.
Believe me, Mateo, we do not mean to haggle with this prince to sate his desires. He works for the Camarilla. He is given his title and his domain on their account, and he will abide by it.
And if things turn ugly?
Then we slaughter this town and take it in the name of the Camarilla. And this prince will be as reported as a defector to the Sabbat, for he clearly does not support our ambitions and the ambitions of the Inner Council.
Mateo nods grimly, listening to you, but seems content with your plan.
Then I am at your side, my lord.
He nods grimly. Just stay alert. We do not know how quickly the lupine will react to this event. I ask that you stand guard by the door. Yes?
Of course. I believe I've bought us some time by silencing those woodcutters. But they will smell the blood.
Very well. Let us discuss these matters. As he begins to walk off towards the Black Dog Inn.
And the camera pans up high into the sky as we see Gehrman and the lean, sleek form of Mateo walk after the group as everyone head towards back to the Black Dog Inn. We emerge into our next scene in the midst of the Black Dog Inn. It seems that since Sophie Ducote has finished her performance, most of the patrons have either gone elsewhere or gone home. There are a few hardcore drunks still lingering here, enjoying mug after mug of dark brown yeasty beer that you can smell as thick in the air. A single serving wench is moving among the different tables and tending to them, while the man behind the bar seems to be preparing to at least wind things down for the night. It is getting very, very late, and most of the mortals have gone home. There are still a few here, however. The group emerges together into the Black Dog Inn, and Valentino and Diego, you're the first to enter just after Delphine. You see that she has got some distance on the group, and she is already talking in a hushed whisper to Von Shore at the back of the tavern. You see that the two other male vampires have returned to the group. They flank the prince, one of them laying upon a couch and the other standing with his arms folded. You see Von Shore's face grow dark and stormy as Delphine whispers in his ear, glancing at the group of you as the Lambs of Isaac enter the room, attended, of course, by Mateo, who pauses towards the door. He folds one hand across his waist to rest upon his sword. He leans against the wooden post and takes in everyone with his eyes, watching the door as Gehrman had instructed him. As we lead as the camera follows the four Lambs of Isaac as they walk towards Prince Von Shore.
Valentino will attempt to speak up first for the group as they approach. Prince Manfred von Shore, I presume.
Indeed. Manfred looks up at you with a glare, clearly unhappy. Your group is larger than I was given to understand.
We have an important task, so we did not spare on the needed bodies. But that is besides the point. There is a matter to discuss that I am sure you are being briefed on just now.
Yes. In your short amount of time in my city, you have managed to shatter a fragile alliance that I have worked many moons to establish. Your reckless behavior has made me look like a fool. I promised that territory to the lupines, and it is awash in blood.
Perhaps not all is lost, Prince Manfred. No witnesses or survivors from that event were left, and we may yet still be able to attribute this to the Sabbat or Giovanni and unleash the lupines.
Yes, he interrupts you. Delphine showed me of your childish plan. I have been dealing with lupines for over 2 centuries, boy. Do you know what they will do when one of them is dead, when their kinfolk is found slaughtered? They will come howling for our blood in the night. They will come into this city without care for the Inquisition or the church or the people. They will come. And when it's all over, if any of us have survived, we will have the church to deal with. Monsters in the streets.
Valentino takes a sharp look and a sharper tone as he returns. Then what would you do then instead, my prince? Wait here, wait to die?
No. I will protect the Canaanites of this city, as I always have. We will prepare. But you... Manfred rises from his seat, glaring at the four of you. You and all your retainers and all your lackeys will get out of my city. Take your chances with your mess outside my walls. You are not welcome in Basile.
Valentino raises his hand to point at the prince. Understand this, Prince. Your title comes from those we serve, the Inner Council. We serve a more important task.
And as you say this, Manfred takes a step closer, and he tilts his head slightly to one side, looking at you. You speak like a patrician. You must be a blue blood, he says, looking you up and down. Well, if the inner circle's only help to my city is to put me in this situation, without any help, without any regard for our predicament out here so far from Rome, then they can have it. What is everyone doing as Valentino engages in this tense discussion with Von Shore?
Diego actually chimes in, and have you asked them for help?
Many
I
times.
think you have not.
Von Shore interrupts you without looking away from Valentina. The answer, when I finally got one, was that I was to protect my own domain, and that if I was unable to do so, I had no right to it. The camera pans around to Gehrman and Bianca.
At this point, Bianca is she has so many things going on in her mind at this point. It's all a fluster in her brain, that she is holding back a little bit of laughter. She can't help herself. She puts her hand to her mouth, and there is somewhat of a small smile playing at her lips at this point. I mean, this is unbelievably ridiculous that she can't even.
Gehrman stands behind Valentino, arms crossed, staring at Von Shore and his reactions. You have proven yourself capable of holding your domain. And although we have upset that balance, it was a needed step. It was going to happen sooner or later. You understand this. You cannot be foolhardy enough to understand that your treaty would hold for very long.
It could have bought us a few years, enough to prepare. But you have diminished that to a few nights!
Then let us help you.
Make a charisma empathy roll, Diego. Difficulty 8. Von Shore seems to completely ignore you, glaring at Gehrman.
Gehrman glares right back at him, clearly recognizing one of his own brood. A few nights, yes. And if we move quickly, that is all we will need.
What? You mean to take the war to the lupines in their own home? How fucking stupid are you?
And as he says that, make a self-control roll, Gehrman. Difficulty 7. All right, the camera bands back to you.
Gehrman unfolds his arms. Careful, Von Shore. We are here as allies. Speak to us of that matter again, and you will find yourselves fighting a war on 3 fronts.
I'm done with you.
Manfred turns away from the group, from the 4 of you, pausing to pace back to where his chair was as he rounds on the 4 of you again. And you see that the others flanking him have actually stood. Delphine is looking nervous, kind of almost shying behind him as Manfred folds his arms, looking at the 5 of you.
Get out of my city. Within the hour. Or,
And he turns around and he reaches and he picks up a very large broadsword, which is in its sheath, from behind his chair. He picks it up and he holds it in his other hand.
or I will take things into my own.
Or I
will expel you myself.
As he reaches for the sword, Gehrman's hand goes up to his, tilting in a fashion that you all know very well is easy for him to draw as he stares down Von Shore, unsure of his intentions.
The camera pans to Valentino to see what he's doing.
Valentino holds up another hand to Gehrman as if to pause. Know this, Prince. We are here to solve problems, not create them. You cannot exile us from the city at this hour. There is nowhere to go, and we still have a task to complete.
Camera pans back to Diego.
Diego's going to keep silent.
All right. Despite your words, Valentino, Von Shore seems set. In fact, after a moment of silence, he says,
You now have less than an hour.
Valentino's shaking his head at the moment, but he's thinking, as he stares the prince down, if he can come up with any reason that the prince would let them stay at this point without them simply killing everyone here.
roll intelligence politics. Difficulty 6. I'll relay the results of that.
Valentino grits his teeth in thought as he comes to the conclusion that this Bruja will not tolerate them any longer, but that leaving the city is certain death for all of them. And he looks back to Gehrman and shakes his head subtly, intimating that there's no way forward without violence.
The tension in this room is so thick you could cut it with a knife. As the camera shifts back to Gehrman, as he squares off with Manfred von Schor, the two of them glaring at each other, their hands upon their weapons. So what does Gehrman do?
I think you're muted, Daniel.
Oh, sorry. Glaring at Von Schor, he's going to immediately buff his body with his supernatural strength and speed as he releases his sword from his scabbard, and he's going to swing with his potence and celerity to decapitate Manfred von Schor.
Oh. Oh no. All right. Everybody roll your initiative. There's no cheap shot round. Manfred had been clearly expecting something.
Even with celerity?
He has celerity. All right. Oh man, here we go. But before we do so, we're going to engage in a break.
Ah, darn it.
I know, because we're at the 2-hour mark.
I was like, oh, getting into the music.
I know.
Oh god, what a shit show this has been.
All right. Well, you guys managed to get
Oh,
parts
man.
of adventures in here in Basile. Oh,
Yeah.
the Lambs of Isaac are at it again.
Look like them Duke boys.
All right, guys, take 10 minutes, collect yourselves, and we'll get into this confrontation with this prince.
Whatever, this guy gave us no choice.
Bianca is trying so hard not to, like, manically laugh because she is like, this is awful, and she can't even handle it, how bad it is. She's looking at all of you and, like, about to burst out laughing. So funny.
Yeah, it was a combination of just saying the wrong things at the wrong time. Like, Von Shore doesn't give a shit who you're from or who you're working for. Like, you fucked up his city, and he's really mad. And pulling rank on him was not the way to go. I'm just saying.
He don't care.
Oh, well. I just hope we didn't bite off more than we could chew with this guy.
I mean, the dude single-handedly defends his city from werewolves. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yay! Yay! We're so excited.
Whatever, this guy asked for it. He's a dick.
I'll be right back.
Gave us, like, nil. Like, 0 political openings. Shut us down. Trying to kick us out of the city. Sorry, dude, that can't happen.
I think Hardestad's gonna be really mad, but hey, we gotta do what we gotta do to get the job done, so maybe he'll just kind of overlook it.
Well, I mean, yeah, he has the right. It's his domain, but I mean, this is also, a high priority mission from the inner circle. And when you ask aid from a prince and he denies you and kicks you out of his domain, that's not exactly the right approach either.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it'll be overlooked by Hardestat in the end. I feel like he'll be really mad, but he won't care enough because at the end of the day, he cares more about the Giovanni and stopping them.
And it's a pretty remote city, like just up in the mountains. Like, I get it. He's gonna be pissed, but I mean, for all we know, like, this guy has turned from the Camarilla and is defected.
Yeah. We'll have to see. I don't know. Let's just hope if we, like, totally kill everyone, all these vampires, that it doesn't get back to our own cities that we're living in, because I'm pretty sure if Bianca heads back to Naples and her prince finds out that she killed another prince, he's gonna be like, get the fuck out of my city, bitch. Yeah.
Well, it's just information. If this guy had defected to the Sabbat, then he deserved every bit of it.
Oh, is that what he did?
That's how Gehrman sees it, yes.
Yeah. That's what we're gonna say. After this is over.
We asked for aid and he turned us away. He's defected.
Hey, whatever works. I mean, she'll go along with the plan if it, keeps their, reputations clean.
I mean, he all but drew the first attack anyway, because he basically said, either you're gonna go out and die, or I'm gonna come kill you. So it's not like
I know. I know. I think that's another reason why Bianca was like holding back laughter, because he was being so unbelievably unreasonable and ridiculous that she was like, I can't even deal with this guy right now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Like, okay, we screwed up, but to kick us out in the middle of the night, like, no, I'm sorry. That ain't happening.
Ridiculous, dude. The guy stonewalled so hard. It was crazy.
I know, everything you guys said, he was like, no, no,
No, no,
no.
no.
And I feel like Bianca and Diego are just standing there like, duh. Like, they're like, oh, there's so many things that they want to say, but it's just already too late. Like, it's just done.
Ridiculous.
And Bianca can't help it. I mean, she's a Malkavian. When situations arise like this, she either gets really flipping nuts, or she starts bursting out into laughter, or she starts like, because she can't even deal.
Oh, gosh. I did not expect this guy to do this.
Garmin, are you ready? Are you ready?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Woo!
This whole session should be like, when keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just a mess.
Oh well, what are you gonna do? Sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches. I have learned that now that I've played this game for a while.
Yeah. What a mess.
I just hear Mike cackling in the background.
They're so dead.
I-
This guy's got like 9 potents.
Yeah. They can hear you laughing.
Huh?
They heard you laughing.
Oh. Hold on, I gotta go to the bathroom before we start this crazy battle.
And you thought a werewolf was your biggest problem this session.
Yeah.
Hey, we've killed worse vampires. So.
Well,
These vampires are like child's play to us.
well, it's 4 of you versus 4 of them. Yeah, but you guys are old.
Yeah, Mateo.
Yeah, well, yeah, Mateo, he's by the door. Mateo's dangerous. Like, he's about as dangerous as a ghoul gets. Welcome back, Scott.
Alright, let's kill Mr. Stonewall.
Scott, are you okay? Scott?
Cooling off time.
He's like,
I'm alright.
And dude, if I've been seriously interrupting you a bunch, you just say so. I don't actually mean to interrupt your play at all.
No, I think I'm just irritable. Work has called me twice already this morning, and I'm just fucking sick of my phone ringing, so sorry about that.
All
I think
right,
it's
guys.
it's interesting how this is playing out. It's just bad.
Well, yeah, it's it's a series of it's like the title of this could be called The Seal, a series of unfortunate events. Like, I had no idea it was just, as a storyteller, you just gotta put a situation in place and watch it unfold, and whatever you guys do happens.
And watch it burn.
I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, it's, what's important is that everything that has brought us up to this scene has made sense, right? Like,
It makes sense to me. Nothing seems unrealistic. I mean, it could have gone any which way. It wasn't like when we had that scene in the last story where remember that scene we had that was so unrealistic? When we were fighting
I remember that.
Lothar. What's his name? Lothar?
Lothar, yeah.
God, that was awful.
That whole scene just went off the rails.
That's the one we retconned, though, right?
Yeah, we retconned it.
Yeah, it was bad. Like, it was really bad. This scene is not even close to that. I mean, it's realistic enough where I can see it going in this direction.
Yeah.
I just didn't know Von Shore was going to be such a tight ass.
I mean, you did put him in a hard freaking position, dude. Like, he's,
Well, them's the breaks, man. Time to work with the Camarilla or not at all.
Wow.
Wow, okay.
Well, you know what? That's the way it is. I'm sorry.
I know.
That's
you're
how
not willing-
Garmin feels.
Yeah.
Okay,
if
that's
you're not
Garrett's
willing,
position.
Yeah, if you're not willing to work with the Camarilla and they need to do something, you've defected.
Well, and
Like-
here's the tough thing is you guys don't have any official office. You're not Archons, you're not Justicars, you're just some dudes. You know what I mean? Like, who claim to know the inner circle, like.
Yeah, technically, people can choose not to believe us.
Right.
like we start name dropping, they're gonna be looking at us like, who are you?
So that kind of punches a couple holes in your argument, eh, Daniel?
No.
Nope.
To Garmin, it's crystal clear. In his mind, it's very simple. The Camarilla, the inner circle has sent them to do something on the accounts of the Camarilla. And he came across this prince, this Camarilla prince, who has said no and is going to kick them out. In his mind, he's defected already. He's defected.
All right.
He's a Sabbat.
Way to keep it in character. There you go.
Like, even if they all get ashed, this is just the way he sees it.
Well, the others seem kind of scared. I bet if you took that prince out, the others might be like, all right, fuck
That
this.
was my original plan. Yeah, like if I could
Yeah.
cheap shot him and just immediately cut his head off, then the others would back our roll.
Yeah. The reason I didn't give you the cheap shot round is because Von Shore, he
knew.
he knew you
Oh,
were
yeah.
going to do something. He was looking right at you. And he has celerity as well.
He can smell the Bruges all over you.
I'm sorry, Garen's got a fucking temper, man.
Yeah.
He hasn't had the years to hone it down. He started, but not quite there yet.
All right. Just so you know, guys, if this turns out bad, I'm really sorry.
Hey, I am all in for it. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, it would be a fitting end, I guess, for what went wrong here.
All right, guys.
I would be very sad.
I mean, we're going to see some dice roll, but you'll see. All right.
Oh, Lord.
Dun dun dun.
He's that crazy, huh?
So we're gonna get into this.
All right, that's good to know.
All right, everybody, roll initiative. Violence is imminent. Oh yeah, you guys already rolled. You already rolled. Oh no.
All of us are just like, meh.
It's all right. You got celerity. You can, when you activate celerity, you've got actions you can dodge if you want. All right, one moment.
This music is awesome.
Wow. And does Mateo get a...
Oh, he does. I forgot about Mateo at the door.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, guys. One moment. All right. All right, nobody tied. So... What? Oh, Delphine and Bianca tied. Roll 1d10, Bianca. All right. So you will go before Delphine. All right, so Von Shore is a lightning whirlwind, a blur. Gehrman, immediately a bolt of fear goes through you as you see the level of his celerity in action. You realize he's faster than you. He's a lot faster than you. In fact, he's twice as fast as you, as his sword suddenly flashes out and it's nothing but steel coming directly at your face. Are you gonna take the hit, or do you dodge? Because you've got celerity actions.
He's gonna lift his other sword to bring it up to parry.
All right, so we're gonna do a parry. Roll your dexterity, melee.
And I do not include my celerity dots.
No, because you've activated your celerity.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. Dexterity, melee. And will my specialty count?
Yep.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
roll that 10 again. That's 3 successes.
4.
Sorry, was I muted that whole time?
Yes.
You manage to get your blade up just barely in time, and the sudden clang of your swords coming together with the force of your vampiric strength as sparks spray off with the sudden clash of the steel, as Manfred, with the force and direction of his blow, actually knocks your sword downward as as the blow just falls like a guillotine. That's 2 successes.
Okay.
All right, with his potence, that's 9 successes. Roll your soak.
Ow. Okay, can I use my last blood point to buff Fortitude?
Yes, you can.
And I will do so. Hold on, can you message me my blood pool after the Fortitude buff? I think I forgot to mark down my other ones.
No problem.
Okay. Alright, now soak. Oh, that's not right. With his Fortitude, that is 6.
All right, you take 3 levels of lethal, Gehrman, as his sword crushes downward. It actually breaks your collarbone and bites deep into the cavity of your body as he just did an overhand chop as blood sprays everywhere. It is a blow. You're completely taken off guard. He is even stronger than you realize, as the blow completely knocks aside your parry and chops downward into your body. Von Shore is very strong, and the force of it actually knocks you back a bit. As we go to Mateo, the violence that has erupted, people are just beginning to yell and scream as Mateo comes out of nowhere. He sprints across the room with his sword drawn, and with a sword in one hand and a pistol in the other, as he pulls out his flintlock and points it directly at Manfred's head from back behind the crowd, as he can't reach him with his sword as everyone's crowded around the back room door. But he points his flintlock directly at Manfred's head. All right, roll them again. All right, with Mateo's specialty, that's 5 successes.
Man.
All right, that's 4 successes of lethal. Manfred's going to roll his soak. Yeah, Mateo immediately drills Manfred in his head as the sudden explosion of gunpowder, and you can smell it in the air. The burnt gunpowder like matches in the air as the ball burrows directly at his forehead, and you see Manfred's like a chunk of his head is blasted off as his fangs bared as he as Mateo glares determinedly at this enemy that has buried his sword in his master. The dark-haired vampire, the first male, actually leaps to Manfred's defense, and he goes to grapple Gehrman. Gehrman, you can roll a reflexive strength brawl. If you activated your potence, that will also apply.
Okay. 6 as well?
Yep. Oh, he's so weak. As this dark-haired vampire leaps to Manfred's defense and tries to grab you, what happens, Gehrman?
As he leaps towards Gehrman, Gehrman quickly raises his hand, catching him in the air and then throwing him across the room and hitting the back wall.
And he goes flying immediately with Manfred's sword still buried in your shoulder. Valentino, what do you do?
Really quick, what does it look like Delphine and Marcel are aiming to do?
Marcel looks like he is going to try and help Manfred. Delphine looks like she's looking for a way out of here.
Valentino sees Von Shore crash forward with his sword, and he sees the strength as he comes down on his friend. Valentino, quickly drawing his blade and moving to the side, is going to try and strike at Von Shore from his flank.
All right. As you flank him, your difficulty will be at a -1. You roll... Nope. One's canceled out. All right. One moment. Moving like a blur, as soon as your sword swings towards him, Manfred rips his sword out of Gehrman and pivots, moving faster than your eyes could even follow. 1 minute he was there, and your sword gets nothing but empty air. As we go to Gehrman now. And before we do, what does Valentino seeing Manfred move so fast?
Valentino, taking both hands with his sword and swinging, sees only that he's now swinging just in front of Gehrman and missing him entirely. His eyes darting around trying to follow, but he's unable to.
Gehrman, the sword rips out of your chest as he pivots to dodge Valentino's blow. You recognize a true warrior in Manfred. He is definitely worthy of your attention and your respect. You have not fought someone like him in many centuries, and as you look upon Manfred, you know what you have to do. The camera focuses in on Gehrman.
Quick question. Do the blood points I have... Okay, do the blood points that I've spent before we rolled initiative count towards this round of how many I can spend?
No.
Okay, so... just for clarification, can you message me how many I have left after I had buffed my fortitude?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, not blood points I have left. How many I have left to spend?
Oh, okay. Alrighty.
Okay. As Gehrman sees the speed at which Von Shore can move, he is immediately struck with a fear of uncertainty. He has walked the centuries, meeting many, many warriors, knowing he is far superior. This is one of the first times that he's ever met someone since his vampiric embrace that he has met a warrior who may even surpass his own skill. So the uncertainty sends a pain of fear through him, although his rage is boiled to the surface, and he cannot feel it, so he races forward, drawing his claymore from his back and swinging wide to catch Manfred von Schor in the chest with it.
All right, roll that attack. Manfred moves like a blur, and he immediately whips out of your way, and he actually crashes a chair as he steps aside, and your swing goes wide, Gehrman. He is unbelievably fast. I mean, you've never seen a vampire as fast as he is. As we go now to Diego.
Diego sees this scene quickly spiraling out of control. And he looks to Delphine, who he sees is trying to escape, and yells at her, "Flee if you wish to live!" And he will draw his sword and sort of step aside to try to get to the other side of Manfred to flank him there.
Manfred, it's a very tight space he's working in. You easily manage to flank Manfred. And he's very busy dodging.
And I still have time to strike him if I wish?
Yes, you do.
Alright. Oops. That's for Dex.
Okay.
Click the wrong button. Okay. I forgot the difficulty of my sword.
6.
Oh, I have it written down. I'm an idiot.
Manfred pivots out of the way just as you go to slash at him, Diego. Go ahead and describe it.
Diego actually lunges in, as that's what the rapier's best at, only to have Manfred pull his belly out of the way just in time, eliciting a grunt from him.
With 3 different attacks hitting him, Manfred dodging each one in turn. He's just moving like a blur as we go now to Bianca.
At this point, as everything's transpiring, you hear a slight of titillating excitement gasp from her lips as she takes in everything going on. And the most wicked smile spreads across her face as she sees all of this, and it's quite clear that everything happening is kind of exciting her Malkavian mindset. Very much so, all the stimulation is just getting to her at this point, but it's not enough to distract her, and she immediately activates her obfuscate and disappears into the room.
All right, and as Bianca vanishes, Delphine lets out a shriek, and she, with her fangs extended, she just raises her hands and she runs. She just runs straight past Manfred. She tries to push her way past the 4 of you, and with Bianca gone, there's really, since the other 3 have engaged Manfred in combat, there's really no reaction time unless you want to stop her from going. Anybody who has celerity actions, I believe it was Diego and Gehrman.
Diego's letting her go. He told her to go.
All right, Gehrman, do you stop Delphine?
No, Gavin's totally focused on Manfred.
Okay, she's out. She runs. She vanishes. And we go now to celerity actions. Or no, Marcel. Marcel gets his action. He's a real boy too.
Eh.
All right, Marcel rises up from the corner where he'd been standing near Manfred, and he bares his fangs and glares at you, Valentino. One moment. Immediately, the force of his eyes bore into you, Valentino, and you are seized with fear. You immediately, you have to absolutely fall all over yourself. It's like a wall hits you. What happens is Valentino is faced off with this vampire baring his fangs in his face.
Really quick, Valentino was focused on Von Shore. How did Marcel get in his face?
Marcel basically just stepped in front of you. I mean, it's a tight enough space back there where he can absolutely do that. And he does not need eye contact, by the way.
Valentino, taken aback by this vampire he did not notice before, actually stumbles backwards, surprised and not expecting this at all. Staring at the man, unsure what to do.
You can spend you've had these powers used on you before, Valentino. You can spend a willpower point to negate this effect.
Then that's what he's going to attempt to do, is simply force himself through this. And he spends a willpower.
So as you steel yourself to keep from fleeing in fear, you still lose. We'll be losing 3 dice until this effect wears off completely. And essentially, until Marcel is gone or dead, you lose 3 dice to your actions. But you manage to steel yourself and not flee. So we go to celerity actions now. Von Shore is the first to go. Immediately, Manfred whips his sword up and goes for another slash at you, Gehrman. I believe you still have a celerity action left. Do you want to use it to dodge?
Gavin's gonna, he's gonna use it to bring up his claymore and parry once again.
Let's do a parry as you clash with Manfred von Shore. Now remember your wound penalties. I'm remembering his. He's injured too.
Is it possible for Gehrman to spend a willpower to ignore his wound penalties?
It is.
He will do so.
So with his specialty, that's 6 successes on his attack.
Sending you a quick message over Skype.
Gotcha. Okay, I forgot about a merit that Gehrman has. I'm gonna retcon his spending a willpower point. He does not need to.
Okay. All right, parry. He has 6 successes on his attack, right?
That's correct.
All right, let's see if I can parry. 6.
Oh my god, Gehrman, as Manfred goes to basically cleave you in half and finish what he started, happens.
As he brings the sword down again, Gehrman quickly changing his stance and flipping his sword around. Holding a two-handed claymore with one hand, though his strength his supernatural strength allows him to do so, he quickly flips it around and brings it up to catch the blade as he's left staring at Manfred von Schor's only a few inches away from his face. Both of their fangs are bared and glaring at each other.
One moment.
Wow, he's got 5. Holy fuck.
All right, that's 9 successes, Gehrman. The
Jesus
minute
Christ.
you parry that first attack, his second attack comes around, and he slashes you in a horizontal slash much faster. It's just clang, and as his sword comes around, he cleaves you in your side. That's, yep.
Okay, 9?
Yep, 9 successes. No, wait. 10.
Wonderful. With his fortitude, that is 5.
All right, you take another 5 levels of damage, Gehrman. That drops you from... Does that drop you to incapacitated?
Yes, it does.
Manfred gores Gehrman open, cutting him open in his side. He actually cleaves you all the way to your spine, Gehrman, opening you up with a death blow. And the last thing you see is Manfred's glaring face as he gets inches from your face. What happens is Gehrman is brought low.
As the blade cuts through him, he had thought he had stopped Manfred in his tracks with that parry. He did not see the sword coming around, or that he was even fast enough to do so. But as it bites deep into Gehrman's side, blood bursts from his mouth as he sinks down to his knees, looking at Manfred von Schor, his vision blurring, and the only thing he sees is a red visage of Manfred standing over him before he blacks out and falls to the ground.
All right. The last thing you hear before you black out into torpor, Gehrman, is Mateo's cry of rage, which explodes across the tavern. My lord! And immediately, the two of you see Mateo look like a blur as he lays into Von Schor in 2 quick strikes with everything he has, a flurry of blows at his exposed back. Mateo is going to be burning all the blood he has in his system. All right, so we're going to deal with this flurry of blows from Mateo as he catches Manfred completely off guard with his fury and his speed. As Mateo's saber is just flashing, sparks go off of Manfred's armor as Mateo just... You see his sword just flashing in crisscross slashes against Manfred's exposed back. We're going to roll damage and soak and see the outcome of this. The first attack is 9 successes. All right, with his potence, that is 7 lethal. Manfred's gonna soak. Manfred von Schor takes... Yeah, 5 lethal to his back. We're gonna roll the second attack now. And the second attack is way worse. This is... Fuck. That's 12 successes on his attack. On Mateo's second blow. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of math in my head right now. Sorry. With his potence, that is 13 successes to Manfred's back. As... Yeah, Mateo rushes in the moment he sees Gehrman go down and skewers Manfred in a flurry of blows that open him up from groin to sternum. He basically blood eagles him. He opens him up in his back and skewers his heart in an explosion of blood, and he just continues hacking furiously, glaring at this vampire as he cuts him down, as Von Schor is dropped into torpor as well. Diego, you get your celerity action now.
So I see him fall. Both of them fall, right? He'll actually turn to Marcel and say, "This is done!" And he will lower his sword.
Alright, make a charisma intimidation roll. Standard difficulty. The moment you say that, Diego, Marcel and Adrian, the two vampires that had been loyal to Von Schor, they immediately raise their hands and they step back from the violence. And wow, one moment. We see the scene of violence unfold thusly. We see Manfred von Schor in his torpid form, and Mateo standing over him, his sword drenched in the vampire's blood. We see Mateo looking at von Schor's torpid form, and immediately, with a lust and a hunger you have never seen in Mateo's face, he falls upon the torpid vampire Von Schor, and he begins guzzling and drinking from the wound hungrily, burying his face in Von Schor's back, drinking everything he can from the vampire, hungry for his vitae, as Gehrman lay torpid upon the floor of the inn. Marcel and Adrian turn and they flee. They run, unless any of you want to stop them. They run off after Delphine into the night. The two of you that see anything, you see that the tavern is cleared out mostly of people, but you do, and Bianca, you're the first to see this as you're obfuscated. You see the bartender running like his life depended on it towards the back room. Master! Master! He's crying out, and he rounds the corner of the curtain, which barely conceals this horrible scene. He sees Mateo with his face buried in Von Schor's goried back, drinking blood hungrily. The bartender intends to throw himself at Mateo unless any of you mean to stop him.
Like violently throw himself?
Yeah, violently. He's attacking Mateo.
Valentino will step in front of him to hold a hand out.
Okay, he
Until
blows
I'm-
by you.
As
Unless-
soon as he gets like eye contact, he's going to tell him stop with his hand out.
All right. Roll your manipulation, intimidation. Difficulty is going to be 4. He stops as though he hit a brick wall. He immediately just jerks to a halt, his entire body frozen, looking with horror, unable to do anything, and watch as Mateo drinks greedily from Von Shore's fallen form. The camera pans around to Diego and Valentino, or Diego and Bianca, to see what they're doing.
Bianca would emerge from her obfuscate, revealing herself once more. She was kind of she had backed towards the entrance, but now she steps forward and examines the horridness upon the floor and the torpid bodies of 2 Canaanites at present. And after a moment, she would look over to Diego. Well then.
Diego, you're left in the wake of this terrifying violence. You saw for firsthand yourself, you saw how powerful Von Shore was and what a great warrior he was. You didn't manage to get a finger on him until Mateo came out of nowhere with his amazing series of attacks, the ghoul revealing how deadly he has truly become in 2 centuries. How are you taking this horrifying scene in as Mateo guzzles greedily on Von Shore's corpse?
Diego will actually look to the bartender, and he will say to him, though he is frozen in place, "Your master will live." Mateo, stop. Please, tend to your master.
Mateo ignores you for a time, but as he fills up on Von Shore's rich vitae... One moment. Oh, sorry. Was I muted that whole time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah, damn it. Mateo, after a moment, it was a great description too. He stops looking up from the wound in Von Shore's back, and with his beard sopping with blood, we see it dripping off of his face in thick, syrupy drips as his eyes focus and he comes back to himself.
My lord!
As he stumbles and rushes to Gehrman's side, actually stumbling over Von Shore's torpid form. He takes Gehrman in his arms.
We need elder blood to bring him back. Sooner!
And Mateo, without even missing a beat, grabs with his ghoul strength Von Shore's body. And the rest of you see he intends to squeeze Von Shore's blood into Gehrman's torpid mouth, unless any of you stop him.
Valentino brings a hand up, quickly looking to Mateo. Wait. If you do that, you will begin a bond between Gehrman and this man. You realize this?
We need Von Shore's blood to bring him back. Otherwise he could be out for weeks.
Or longer. He speaks the truth, Valentino. We may not have a choice.
Valentino bares his teeth at the thought, but then motions to let Mateo go.
But, he says, we should feed him the blood ourselves. Don't give him the body. He might attempt to diabolize him in frenzy.
Mateo looks around at the rest of you.
As long as my lord comes back, that's all I care about.
He motions to you and to Gehrman's torpid form.
Hold him if you wish.
I'm not strong enough to hold him if he decides not to be held, but I will try.
Valentino nods as well, and he moves to restrain Gehrman.
And as the two of you restrain him, Mateo brings Von Schore's rich blood up to Gehrman's mouth, which is open, and he holds the carcass above Gehrman's face. It's not pretty. It doesn't come in a single elegant line. In fact, it's a splatter that covers Gehrman's torpid face. But much of the blood does get in, and you even see Mateo reach up and smooth his hand over Gehrman's face, wiping as much of the blood as he can towards his master's mouth. This horrifying sight in the back of the Black Dog Inn unfolding. And as they pour Von Schore's blood into Gehrman's mouth, he does not stir, but after a moment, Mateo stops and he nods, allowing the body of Von Schore the Elder, the former Prince of Bastille, assuming he still is, fall to the floor.
That's enough. He needs a day of rest.
I hope we have a full day.
What of your ghouls? They must have secured us a place by now.
We can only hope, but we cannot drag two bodies out of here across the street. We will need something to carry them in, a carriage or cart of some kind.
All right, we're going to pause real quick. We lost Scott. So Scott's power just went out in his house.